Hello, welcome to Drop Yoga. My name is Carole Woodstock, and I'm with Master Trainer Tracy Glennon. And today we're doing Yoga Core. So you don't have to be an athlete to work on your core. Everybody can benefit from feeling taller. And I have a chiropractor, a great chiropractor, who told me, always bring your phone to your face and not your face to your phone. And I think a lot of people do the second option, and we end up being really rounded. So today we're doing core to help us feel taller. So drop everything, make space in your home, get comfy clothes on, and join us for Yoga Core. So we hope you're all ready to start at home. But before we do, I have a few questions because not everybody knows what muscles are involved in core. We all think it's our six-pack or lack of six-pack. So what are the muscles involved in core?
Well, we need to think of the core as really the torso.
Okay.
So we really need to start to think about it's the pelvic floor. It's the net that holds us up.
So that low, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the erector spinae, the muscles that run down either side of the spine to support your spine. It's your lats to some extent, the multifidus, all these other muscles we don't know the names of. But I really want you to think of the whole torso.
Okay, and why is it so important to do, especially in yoga class?
Yeah, I think one of the things in yoga classes is our bodies are going to positions that are extended beyond what we normally do in the day.
Right.
So we are in bends further than we would bend, etc. And if we have a weak core, we're really compromising our safety. So really thinking about the function of the core muscles really is to stabilize the pelvis and the thorax in movement.
Right.
So in most yoga practices, there is movement involved.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I guess it could benefit more than just yoga. It can benefit sitting at a desk, for example. You probably feel taller and you can hold your back a little better if you have stronger muscle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like it is so functional, right? Being able to really transfer it into daily life makes a humongous difference for us. So to really think about how we can align our posture and really think about just supporting the pelvis through movements, your day will be better as a result.
Right.
You won't finish the day with a sore back.
With a sore back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to try something
excited.
fun. I know.
Yeah.
We're going to try something fun. We're going to come down to our mats and we're going to try something called the cosmic egg posture, which I think just sounds cool.
Why is
so
there always some weird names?
So come on down. We're just going to have a seat. Okay. So at home, get comfortable. This can be on a mat, on your carpet, in your living room, wherever you'd like to be. And this is a really simple pose. All we're going to do is bring our feet a little closer to us.
Okay.
And we're going to hug our knees.
Ah.
Yeah, give them a hug. Now sit up tall.
That's the thing, right? So not like that, right?
Yeah. So the first thing we do is this, right?
Yeah.
Sit up nice and tall.
It's harder, actually.
I know.
Yeah.
You've engaged all the muscles of the back
Of
the
the back,
core right away. And then we're going to try to just tilt back a little bit. Yeah. And we're going to lift our toes off and lift up our back again and re-engage our back.
What if someone at home is like falling back? Does that mean they're not strong enough and they should bring their toes down?
They could, or you could even put a block or a cushion underneath the toes.
Or you can ask somebody to hold you.
Yeah. You could lean against your couch at home and just watch it. But in this one, really the idea is that you probably breathe here for 5 to 10 breaths. And one of the things that is very compromised when we start to practice is breathing.
Oh my God, yes.
How many times have you been in a yoga pose and you start to hold your breath? You don't even know you are, right? Yeah. So this would be, a lot of people know what boat pose is that we're going to do later. And this is like prep work for boat pose. Yeah. So you'd probably be here 5 to 10 breaths. And that would allow you to just really see what you feel like in the pose.
Am I trying to hold my abdominals? Like, am I trying to do a contraction?
You're trying to lift your back more than anything.
It comes from the back, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay.
Think of posture. So stretch out your abdominals in the pose.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
And now to make it a little more challenging.
Of course.
Yeah. We might release our hands. It's not quite boat pose yet. But I'm going to guess that maybe you start to feel in the front of your hip.
I feel it everywhere right now.
It's okay to vibrate in this pose
but
a little
I have
bit.
A question. So when we did yin yoga, I'm not sure if at home you did our yin yoga episode, but Tracy was saying that shaking in yin yoga is not a good thing. Is shaking in here good?
Yeah, it's actually strength, right?
So
this is a strength pose for us. So let's
I'm
put
having
our
a little party
toes
in my
down.
muscles right now.
Let's put our feet down and let's just cross our legs and relax for a minute. Yeah.
Okay.
So doing that pose would prepare you for a lot of the other poses
like
that
a
we're going
warm-up.
to today. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I like the name Cosmic Egg, so it's kind of cool. So we could do that as well. So. So in yoga, one of the things that help you are something called your bandhas.
I've never heard that before.
So
what are they? What is that?
bandha translates from Sanskrit as locks.
Locks.
So they are a subtle tension that's created.
Okay.
So even in things where, downward dog is a common pose, where your hands are on the floor, it's very common to have really weak connection to the ground.
Okay.
And so it's about learning to really use anything that's touching the floor, can be a bandha for you or a lock.
Okay.
But there's also internal bandhas.
Okay.
Yeah. So we mentioned earlier the pelvic floor.
So how can they help?
So what they do is they bring awareness, if anything, to your core.
Okay.
So the two common ones we hear about often are Mula Bandha, which is right at the base of the pelvis, which is your pelvic floor. And we hear Uddiyana Bandha, it's called. And just think locks. So you, think of that one as belly lock.
So I just want to interrupt. It's really great that you're talking about this because I've been to yoga classes where they talk like this and it goes like this.
We
and
don't
I'm
know
like,
what
I
it
have
is,
no
right?
ideas what it means. So
Good.
it means locks. It means like,
locks.
I guess it means contraction.
Yeah, it's a very subtle contraction. So both root lock, Mula Bandha, and Uddiyana Bandha, which is a belly lock, are kind of subtle contractions. And your hands and feet would have those same contractions and poses too. Yeah.
Awesome.
So in when we think about bandhas, in theory, you would use them throughout a yoga class.
Okay.
So we're going to move into some postures now that are going to start to use our bandhas a little bit.
Okay.
So we're going to go back to sort of that cosmic egg one, but we're going to take it into boat pose. Okay. So let's bring our knees up. Let's put our feet back on the floor. Sure, we can do it sideways.
Do it sideways so you guys can see.
Yeah. So in this pose,
I might fall.
And if your tailbone is compromised in this position, it's uncomfortable, create a little shape with your hands and tuck it underneath and sit there and go into boat pose here.
Oh, that's so much more comfortable.
Also, it's easier. So it's just another way to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
So if your tailbone doesn't love this pose, just structurally your tailbone feels. Yeah, so it's a good option.
Very cool. Yeah, I like that.
So let's put our hands on our knees and let's just lean back. And this is where the upper body stays. We don't really lean further back because then we've lost it. We're about to roll backwards in this pose.
Don't lose it.
So in this one, if I just released my hands, I should feel tension in my belly.
I do.
The challenge is our hip flexors take over. They're really dominant and strong.
Yes.
So can you kind of loosen your hip flexors and think about your core actually doing this movement?
So releasing the hip flexor and then pulling in a little bit.
Drawing in on what would be your bandhas. You're probably using them to some extent.
Okay.
So the option would be stay here. This is a great way to start Navasana or boat pose. But second to that, you can start to bring your legs up.
If I have a back injury, could I do this like this and still get benefits?
Absolutely, because you could probably bounce a quarter off your abs right there. Like your abs are active, right? I don't know if you'd find it again on me, but you could try. So in that position, this alone is work.
Okay.
Right? So the second step would be here or holding
or
here.
just one? Could you do it?
You could do one. You could alternate
try
side
one
to side.
leg first to see how it feels. Yeah.
Yeah. And the final one would just be to lengthen the lever with the hands here. And that's when you begin to shake.
I wish we could see them at home.
I know. I'd love to see everyone's boat poses. Boat's a fun pose. So we'll leave it there so we can come out of boat and take a little break before we come back.
Welcome back to Yoga Core. Just make sure you drink a little bit of water throughout the class.
Core gets you hot and thirsty, apparently. So we've got some coming up that are going to get us there. And we're going to start with a couple poses that are probably pretty common poses that you might have seen at home. And again, you're on your living room floor, wherever you're comfortable. We're going to start with something called Dolphin Pose. So our goal is to work a lot of the back muscles, and there's some poses in yoga that are pretty static that really work everything. And one of them is dolphin and one of them is plank. So let's try those. Yeah. So let's cross our arms kind of like a genie. We're going to bring our elbows down to the floor. And then you're going to send your arms out and probably interlace your finger. You might even tuck your little finger underneath to protect a little bit.
Okay.
Now let's just slide our knees back a little bit, and you'll probably feel your core kicks in already. So there's many variations of dolphin pose, but in this one, we're going to make it dynamic. We're going to start to move a bit.
Okay.
So I'm pushing into my forearms, but I'm going to begin to slide forward like I want to bring my nose past my hands.
Okay.
And push into my forearms to move back.
Okay.
So this would be a great starter version of dolphin because you feel very in control on the knees.
So that's not dolphin.
This is dolphin.
Okay.
But it's just like a modified version of dolphin,
Okay.
let's say. Yeah.
And are you thinking of pulling your navel to your spine when you're doing this?
Yes, that's a great cue, in fact. So
Okay.
I'm pushing into my forearms, but something's drawing me back. And you'll probably notice that even more if we were to come forward and then plant our toes and lift our hips to downward dog. This is dolphin pose.
Okay.
Now, it could be static, or I can begin to move again. So I'm moving in and out of plank.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's a harder
That's
though.
a lot more
So
work.
at home, if you've never done core before, I think that might be a bit too advanced.
Yeah.
So you would mind, like I will stay here
Yeah.
and then do this one.
And we'll just do one more.
Yeah, because I really feel it.
Well, and also I'm doing the hard version. That's why I said we would do one more. Let's come to our hands. And we're going to prepare ourselves for all the versions of plank now as well.
Okay.
So we talked about bandhas earlier. We talked about
yes.
locks.
Yes.
And one of them is called hasta, which means hand, bandha, which is lock. So
Okay.
hand lock. So I kind of starfish my hands in it.
Okay.
And I almost want to feel like, well, I have a peanut butter addiction. So I'm going to imagine I have 2 jars of peanut butter under my hands, and I'm going to turn the lids towards my baby fingers.
Ah.
Yeah, and it rotates kind of the dimples of my elbow forward.
Okay.
Okay. Now, plank could be just moving my knees back slightly again, and I'm in plank on my knees, which is a great place to start.
Okay.
Or we could go to plank on our toes. And when we feel like we're twisting those peanut butter jars and spreading out our upper back, we really have a lot of tension in plank.
Yeah.
But when that starts to go, when we start
Then
to
you need
sink,
to put your knees
then we
down.
need to bring our knees
Okay.
back to the floor.
So if you've never done, again, if it's your first time, you would not try to go here,
No.
right? You would probably stay here for a little bit of time until
Yeah.
you get stronger.
So you feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you'd limit the amount of time that you were there. You might
Okay.
try for a second or two,
Yeah,
come
that
back
makes
down,
sense.
play with it a little bit. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get into the back and have a little bit more fun. We're going to come down to our bellies. We're going to bring our hands by our sides. Good. So we're going to do locust pose. And locust pose is about your back without pushing into your hands. All we're going to lift is our upper back. Just lift your upper back up.
Oh, that feels really good, actually.
Yeah, good.
So if
It's
you-
an opening, right, for the chest. Yeah.
So if you're working on the computer,
Mhm.
this is a really good one. You can
Yeah.
do that at your office too. Lie on the ground.
Yeah.
It might look good.
And let's lower our gaze down. And this time, let's leave our hands down. And let's just lift our bottom, the bottom half of our body. So let's lift our feet off the ground. Maybe your knees get off the ground. And now you can do the favorite one at home that you liked, either the upper or lower body, or you might try both. So let's inhale. Choose your favorite one or choose both.
Is it called Superman?
Well, Superman, we
Feel
put our
like
arms
Superman.
forward like we're flying.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, and that would be Superman pose. This is locust pose, which is very similar, really. Same idea. And we're going to release down again. Beautiful. How's that?
That felt great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're working all the muscles. We can bring our hands by our shoulders and our elbows underneath again. Just stretch out the abdominals. Because we're going
Yeah.
to do a little swim challenge in a second. Yeah. So the muscles that you might have felt it in. So tell me where you felt it.
Well, I felt my back. For
Yeah.
sure, my back muscles a lot.
Yeah.
And a little bit my abdominals, but mostly my back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
And in a lot of yoga classes, we do only the front of the body.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So we're strong, like the
Yeah.
front of the body. It's like what you can't see, you don't think about. So we never turn around to look in the mirror.
So true.
Same idea here. So we're going to focus on those back muscles again. These, again, are the two muscles that run down either side of your spine, your rector spinae.
Right.
They are posture muscles for you. So they're so important for any back extension. You know, you hear stories about people looking up and they put their back out.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, so we want to just make sure that that our erector spinae are strong. So we're going to do a little swim, okay? So you're going to bring your hands out in front of us.
Okay.
And I know you want to look up to where you're swimming, but I'm going to ask you to look down to where you're swimming. If you have swim goggles at home, feel free to add something, embellish a little bit. So we're going to just be those bathtub toys. You know that you wind up and they like flutter kick?
That's hilarious.
We're going to do bathtub toy swimming for 30 seconds. And if you find that you're waning a little bit in it, put your fingers back down. Okay, so you can use just the lower body if you want.
Okay.
So we're checking our time. We've got 30 seconds. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, go. Start to swim. So it's a little flutter kick. And sometimes we have a hard time with our breath in this pose. So I really want you to breathe.
Yes. And so what are the main muscles here?
Same. We're working the erector spinae again, but we've gone further up in the back.
I was going to say, because it's not just that anymore, right?
No. And what about your butt? How's your
butt
butt feeling in this?
I feel my inner thighs for some reason.
We've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Maybe bring your hands
interesting.
down. Yeah, it's a tough one.
Make sure you drink water now.
So, I drink a lot when I swim, so really it's fine. Let's bring our hands by our shoulders. And we're going to counter this with a little cat-cow. And that's just going to round our back out a little bit. So we're going to push into our mat, find that lock in our hands. Yes. We're going to round out our spine.
That feels great.
Yeah. It's a nice counter pose. And now sink down and shine your heart forward and open up into cow pose. Let's do that a couple more times. And release. And let's do one more. And when we come back, I'm going to ask you some questions. As a nutritionist, Carole's going to be able to tell us, what about my abdominals when I'm doing core, and should I eat during it as well? If all my organs are being squeezed, should I eat anything?
So stay tuned for that answer. Welcome back. So I will start by answering Tracy's question. She asked if we could eat before a core class. I would say preferably not, because when you're doing core, you have a lot of contraction and your organs are being squeezed. So I would say if you can, don't eat a big meal before, but a little snack again is acceptable. A little piece of banana, a date, something that's very easy to digest. So what are we doing? She said that we were going to do something fun, and I think we need some fun toys. So what kind of toys did they get?
So if you have yoga blocks, that's great. Grab a yoga block. Okay. If not, you're going to want a couple of different things maybe. Maybe you have a water bottle right beside you, because Carole's been mentioning
you should have
you should be drinking.
So
you can use a water bottle. And if you have something lighter, like a really small pillow or a paperback book, not a hardback book, that would be fantastic.
Okay.
Nobody should lose an eye in this segment, so we just want to make sure we're safe in it. So we're going to start without the prop for a second.
Okay.
And we're just going to come to all fours.
Okay.
So one of the poses that can also really benefit the back and allow us to connect to our core again is spinal balance. And in this one, it's surprising that it actually takes balance. So we're all going to extend, let's extend our inside arm or one of your arms at home forward. And let's extend the opposite leg. And notice right away your core kicked in, because one of the effects is the hip can drop in this pose. So we want to bring it back up.
And Tracy, am I still thinking of my peanut butter jar? And
yeah. Okay. You still got that lock in your hand.
I feel like eating peanut butter.
Let's release that hand and that leg, and we'll just do the opposite side. So just reach the other way. Spinal balance is just a really good way to engage all the muscles of the back and all the way down the leg. Your glute has to lift here as well and squeeze.
And if I felt uncomfortable, could I do it with one leg down? Would that work?
You could do one or the other. You could do the arm or the leg,
So at home, don't be afraid to changing it up if it doesn't feel good.
Let's do one more.
We can't see you. That's the hard part. You could cheat and we wouldn't even know.
And we'll release. So let's just sit back and let's grab a block or a water bottle, whatever you've got to start.
Okay? Or a book.
Yeah. We're going to drop onto our hip and just swing those legs around. Okay. So in this one, we've done boat pose. We did it earlier. So we're going to just add a little fun to our boat pose. So our hands are on our knees and we're going to lean back again. And your feet can stay on the floor at home. They don't have to come up. So you're going to choose what level you're at today. If you're going to lift your legs up, you might bring them to 90 degrees. This block is going to twist side to side, but What I'd love is if you actually turn to the side.
So could you do it that way?
Yeah.
Okay, because if you're at home right now, you've never done core before, and this is challenging, don't follow Tracy. Follow me. And by the way, I have no idea what Tracy's about to do next, so we'll see.
And in this one, because we're twisting side to side, we really are starting to target other parts of the core.
Working our obliques.
Yeah, we've moved it to the side of the stomach. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Let's just do one more on each side.
And you should be breathing right now, right? Maybe pick a side and exhale.
Yeah.
You know, so that they're not.
I said one more on each side, and look at her. She's done 8. I'm the one dying here, I think. And let's release it. Let's butterfly those legs and shake it out a little bit. Good. We're going to do something called block attacks. It's as bad as it sounds. No, it's not. Okay. So whether you have a water bottle, a block, a book, whatever you've got, let's bring our knees back. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to think of the letter C. We're going to roll back as slowly as we can.
Okay.
So we're going to lift our block up, or your water bottle, whatever you've got in your hands. We're going to roll back and really create that little C shape. The minute your shoulder blades touch down, come up really fast.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah, it's ballistic.
I love that.
So let's roll back.
I used to do that a lot.
I probably got it from you. Come up really fast. Now, if you're thinking, this is great, but I'm looking for another option as well, you could incorporate the last 2 poses.
What?
So you could decide to put boat back into this by starting in boat. Okay, and you roll
let her
slowly.
Go. She does it so gracefully.
Now the pressure's on. Roll back.
What?
Come up. Let's do one more of whichever one we're at.
And again, at home, don't feel embarrassed or scared to change it up.
Take a break. So clearly the heavier the item you chose, like an encyclopedia, if those still exist, would make this harder. But otherwise, really the idea is we gain a lot of strength on the way down in the negative portion of a movement. So by focusing on that slow C shape, we get some strength.
I really love that one.
Yeah, good,
that was awesome.
good.
Yeah.
Well, the next one's interesting. I'm going to demo it, and then I'm going to come and check you out while you're doing it.
Oh,
cool.
Okay. I can't
Okay. So I'll turn this way so you can see.
Okay.
And what you're going to do at home is this is where that paperback book might come in handy. Okay. So I'm going to roll onto my back. And I'm going to take that block and I'm going to put it on top of my feet. But here's the key. If I have really tight hamstrings, my block is going to be hard to balance because my feet are going to point. So I might have to take that paperback book or that block and put it between my feet. Then I'm going to stay here. Instead of using my hands for power, I'm just going to lift using my lowest abdominals. Now this is the 3rd set of abdominals we've gotten into. I'm going to lift them like an inch. Just an inch, okay? Now, one of the keys to this move is everybody always wants to bring their legs to them, but they're going to lift them straight up. So I'm going to let Carole get set up with the block over top.
Of course.
And I'm going to give you an example of what we see in this pose. So I want you to just try to lift. Good. Now let's lift straight towards my hand, and let's make it even smaller. And now let's imagine you can't use your hands at all. And you can't use your upper body.
Well, I'm not lifting anymore.
Good. Let's just do 2 more of them. This looks great. One last one.
And now my bum is facing the camera.
And release and bring your feet down, and then it's not. And let's sit up. So in this one, we use the lowest part of the abdominals. And often when we see people do this pose, they really lift their upper body in it. They're trying to find assistance somewhere. Yeah, because we don't use the lower part a lot.
Yeah.
So it's just a way to kick into all parts of your abdominals. So
awesome.
We're hoping today that you got to see what all the core was and find an exercise for all parts of your core.
Yeah. And see you next time. Thank you for joining us.